Let me explain this to you very clearly. Julian Assange is a hero. Julian Assange is a journalist. Julian Assange was targeted and mistreated and deprived of every conceivable human and civil right under the stars. Humanity was put on trial because one of the essences, or I guess the essence of individual freedom is the ability to speak. And the ability to speak on another level, a higher level, is one out of speaking regarding truth, to report, to let people know what is happening. Call it journalism, call it the town crier, call it whatever you want. This is basic. This is ABCdarian. This is fundamental. There's no complex issue here. People are trying to make the Assange case far more complicated than it is. There's nothing complicated about it. He told the truth. He is a journalist. And the last time I checked, in our country, we have this thing called the First Amendment. Freedom of the press, freedom of speech, freedom of expression. Tell me what Julian Assange did that was different from what Daniel Ellsberg did. To be more precise, tell me what he did that was different from what the New York Times did, the Washington Post, Pentagon Papers, whistleblowers. If this had occurred during different times where he would have exposed information alleging Trump and the Trump administration with a raft of horrific, horrible cases involving espionage, which, by the way, he pled guilty to one count, and, ironically, which President Trump is charged with, and had Trump not listened to the ramblings, the psychotic urgings of Pompeo, we wouldn't be here today. But I digress. If this had been a different time, and Julian Assange had released information claiming or alleging that Donald Trump was involved in some international spy ring, I promise you, the Biden administration, the current DOJ, would have heralded him as a hero because the subject matter wasn't good. You dared to tell the truth about our wars, and we don't like that. Our wars are noble. And whenever you focus on the war, the excuse we will give you is that this puts American soldiers and Marines and men and women in harm's way, and you must be stopped because this compromises ongoing military blah, 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 blah. So did the My Lai investigation. So did every investigation. So has everything from JFK to RFK to 9/11 to Watergate, name it. Every time you expose something, every time you tell the government or the world what the government does, what our government does, you expose it to shame and ignominy and embarrassment, and you put lives in jeopardy. You put lives at stake. This is the most ridiculous, trite, nonsensical excuse because there is no freedom of speech. Freedom of speech is dead. We are coming after you, citizens of the world, and we don't like what you say. We don't like what you say about viruses. We don't like what you say about vaccines. We don't like what you have to say about ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine. We don't like what you're saying about certain countries and accusations of genocide or civil rights or human rights violations against certain countries. And if you dare utter anything against certain countries, you will be called a racist or an anti-Semite, and we will go onto college campuses and extract you while the city that the college campus is contained in completely falls apart, the victim of every conceivable form of crime you can imagine. But speech. Oh, no, no, no. Now you've gone too far. When you've said things contrary to military action between certain countries that we don't like, then we will get you and shut you down. It may not put you into some type of confinement like Assange, but we will shut down your social media platforms. We'll have proxies shut you down and say that what you're doing is in violation of some rule of not trusting science or whatever. We will shut you down. We will come up with a reason to shut you down. We don't need a special reason. In the United States, since 2001, there was a case Bartnicki against Vopper. And it stands for the proposition that if a journalist receives information which was perhaps stolen, purloined, nabbed, grabbed, snatched, and a trespassorial taking, that information maintains its newsworthiness, and the journalistic outlet that publishes or broadcasts or rebroadcasts this subject, which could be the subject of criminal violations on the part of the person who took it, who stole it, it doesn't apply to the journalist because of the First Amendment. Chelsea Manning may have indeed breached a host of laws. She might have committed a series of crimes. Fine. Edward Snowden? Okay. Why? Because they weren't necessarily in the position of journalists. Not everybody is a journalist. I can't break into a house and then when I'm caught by the police say, "Excuse me, I'm an independent blogger and I'm doing a story on how easy it is to break into suburban homes. And this is part of my journalistic enterprise." No. Nice try, but it doesn't work. This started specifically with the likes of Mike Pompeo, who wanted him crushed. And Donald Trump listened. Donald Trump listened. This goes into my category of Donald Trump. He ain't perfect. But do you want 4 more years of what we've been through? Nothing that President Trump has ever done will ever change my position as to the viability of his reelection. But that is a different subject. Across the country, there are these things called J schools, journalism schools, and the like. And the question is, what would a professor teach today to his or her J students to tell them, this is what you need to know. This is what you need to know. And this is what is important regarding how you learning from Assange what you can and can't do. What did Assange do wrong? What can you as a journalism student learn from this? And what can you do not to replicate or to fall into the same trap that Assange fell into? I guess you shouldn't believe in this notion called the First Amendment, aside from that. But the question is, I don't know. Question number 1, he did nothing wrong. So what are you to do different? I didn't do anything wrong. He didn't do anything wrong. Ellsberg, we heralded as it. By the way, the Pentagon Papers case is such a lie. It is a limited hangout of the First Order, and the biggest con ever is the intrepid reporting and reportage of Messrs. Woodward and Bernstein. What a crock of stuff that is. But they violated laws. I will bet you that in the course of any type of journalistic endeavor, you're violating laws. I promise you, you're violating laws. You're doing something trespassorial. You're doing something. Somebody somewhere is violating some oath, some precondition, some employment promise, and you as a journalist are aiding, abetting, counseling, procuring, and hiring. What they tried to do with Assange was that they're saying he told Chelsea Manning, this is how you do it. This is how you use the thumb drive. This is how you grab this information. So he wasn't merely, this is what they're saying, he wasn't merely an active participant, he wasn't a passive, participant, somebody who just sat back and said, well, listen, get as soon as you get this stuff, call me. I'm not going to talk to you in lesson until this is over. No, they're saying he was an active, he was almost a co-defendant, that he conspired, he was a co-conspirator with Manning. How is it that a journalist ever is going to talk to a source and say, by the way, here's what you need to do, here's what the law is, we will help you. If you are arrested, our newspaper, remember newspapers? They're gone. But our organization will secure your release, hire a lawyer for you, whatever. So is that aiding and abetting? Is that being a co-conspirator? See, these are the questions that nobody is talking about. And in conclusion, how dare you? American and Western and world media sources who never came to Julian Assange's rescue, never came to his defense, never came in to support him. This is the bread and butter of their bread and butter. This is the essence of journalism, and they said nothing because they're frightened. There is no journalism today. There are no reporters, merely repeaters. And the worst is American, fundamental, heritage, statist, cable news, sock puppets, devoid of any and all interest in doing what they claim to so assiduously pursue, that of journalism. This is a great day for freedom. This is a great day for America, a great day for the West, a great day for common sense, but a sad day because what this man went through is incalculable. Will he be subjected to or could he avail himself of damage awards for the mental cruelty, for his illegal, and I would submit, his illegal detention? How does a citizen of Australia become subject to an American indictment for violating an American law? Imagine you one day are arrested or put in jail in Wisconsin, and America agrees to an extradition of you to France because under French law, you, by virtue of what you did in this country, violated a French law. You've never been to France. You know nothing about this. But by virtue of you writing in your blog, and by the way, folks, remember, if you're a citizen, civilian, or alternative media journalist, you're subject to this as well. Are we going to have American citizens now subject to arrest in other countries? Is anybody interested? And Joe Biden thankfully said, this is ridiculous. This is enough of this. And the reason why is because his numbers are plummeting. His numbers are cascading. They're in free fall. He doesn't need this. Maybe to young people, just like when he decided to forgive student debt, maybe this will somehow appeal to them. He needs something. Keep in mind, we're in the same country that allows these same young people to have their degrees withheld and their educations interrupted because they dared to utter a word regarding the foreign policy of a foreign country while on American soil. Freedom of speech is dead. Make no mistake about it. No, this is a good day for Assange, of course, but freedom of speech is over. Welcome home, Mr. Assange. Godspeed, sir. And what saith you? Comment as you see fit.